Good morning. Happy Monday. Are you guys ready to laugh? Because seriously, it is going to be, get your tissues for a different reason. I'm just saying, because it's going to be funny. Funny. I'm going to give a few minutes just sharing this out. So if you guys want to share this out with your friends, I think that's going to be a great way to kick. I'm telling you, my friend Steve Rizzo, just wait. Trust me, you know that I'm all about like having fun. Well, today is definitely about having fun. And I can't seem to, there we go. Couldn't seem to get onto D Live. So let me see if I can do that. And then I'm going to share this out and then we're going to get some business done and saying hello. Thank you so much, AF Soldier, producer Ryan. That's what we call him, producer Ryan. Just remember, it says that your call will call you out. Just saying. Like if you have a calling to do something, don't be surprised. God's going to call it out. Okay, let's get some stuff done. You guys ready to get some stuff done? Let's go back into the chat. Let's see who is here. We have AF Soldier kicking off. Thank you, AF Soldier. Just do a little thing. If you want to drop a little something, go ahead. Also, if you are interested in some superfoods, let's just go ahead and do that because it is time to get ourselves fit and fabulous. Are you ready to get fit and fabulous? Because I know I am. I am so ready to get myself fit and fabulous and already started. So if you are interested in getting fit and fabulous, you can go ahead and you can just shoot me an email, excuse me, at Lisa at Touched by Prayer. And we're going to get you into the superfoods group. I can tell you that Greg Harvey is starting something on Telegram, which I'm going to be a part of because we're kind of teaming up here. So if you are interested, you'll be a part of Greg's thing. Also, if you are still interested, we have some time. If you would like to go on a journey with me to destination, what? Beautiful. That's right. Because you were born again. You are taught to, you've been created to evangelize, that you are adopted. You are not an orphan. No orphans here. That God wants you to understand your purpose and your calling. He wants you to learn how to trust him. He wants you to understand how it's important to pray for others through intercession. He wants to build your faith. He wants to unlock your gifts. And most of all, he wants you to know just how much you are loved. And so if you are interested in going on this journey with us, it's Destination Beautiful. You can go ahead and you can just send me an email. Or you can go to my website, Destination Beautiful. I'm going to check that today and see if we can change some dates so that we can get you guys up and running. So if people are interested in doing that. Okay. So anyway, let's say good morning. Good morning, AF Soldier. Good morning, Mary. That is AF Soldier's wife, isn't she? We love Mary. Grandma Linda. Grandma Linda is here. Good morning, Lazarus James. Let's see who else we have. We have Stephanie in the house. We have Amy Graff, who is going to be doing a sit down, shut up, and listen to God today. I think it's going to be at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So make sure that you go over and subscribe to her channel. She is on Cloud Hub, and I believe she is back on, I think she's on D Live, but she's definitely on Cloud Hub. So you can go and find her. Good morning, Tara. Good morning, Audrey. Good morning, Kim, Florida Patriot. Kim and Doug rock. Can I just say that? Kim and Doug absolutely rock. You know who else rocks? Harley and Hog. That's right. Harley and Hog rock. Good morning. Good morning, Miss Amy. All right, I got to take some coffee. I haven't had coffee yet, so cheers. Just remember, I know you can't see it. It says, but you've always had the power. That's what Glinda told Dorothy in the Wizard of Oz. Just saying. Hey, James, I'm seeing you popping in. Okay, good morning, Carol Marie. Let's see who else is here. Rebecca is here. And then we have Uncle Larry's in the house. Hog got jokes. Oh, boy. We're going to have a heckler, Steve. We have a heckler in the house. Just saying. We love you, Hog. It's going to be so much fun. We're going to have fun. Hey, Robin. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Let's see. I need this morning. Good. You're feeling better. Good. I'm so glad to hear that, Carol Marie. Hey, Chaya Possum. How are you? How is your beautiful daughter? Good morning, Teresa from Long Island. Good morning. Stephanie's from Long Island too, but for some reason, anytime I see Teresa, I'm just like, she's from Long Island. Might have we might have to have Steve do some of his Long Island, because he did that too. All right. Good morning, Bonnie. Good morning, Nicole. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Rita Lou. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. And yep, working on the coffee. Working on the coffee. Okay. I think I'm up to date. Okay. So I am so excited. All right. I got my business done really, really quick. Did you see how quick I got that done? That was quick. Okay. So I am going to introduce you to a really good friend of mine. His name is Steve Rizzo. I'm going to tell you, I met Steve back in hey, EK Patriot, met him back in 88. Yeah, I'm dating myself just a little bit. Okay, so in 1988, I worked at a place called Rascals Comedy Club here in New Jersey, and they had the best comedians. I mean, Andrew Dice Clay, Sam Kinison, we had Rosie O'Donnell, we had David Spade, we had Steve Rizzo, we had Paul Veneer, we had a ton of people that were hysterically funny, and there were some people that you just couldn't forget them, and Steve was one of them. And Steve has become a really good friend of our family, and we love him. So I am so excited. Hey, Derek Lynn, I'm so excited for you guys to get to meet him. He did touch by prayer, but I don't know. I kind of felt like he needed to come and do a little crown chats, and maybe we'll do a little something with Steve. No relation to Frank Rizzo. I think he knows him though, but no relation to Frank Rizzo. But maybe we'll do this. Maybe we'll do a once a month thing, but we'll see what Papa wants to do. All right. So before I introduce you, I thought I'd give you just a little background. So he is a former stand-up comedian, but that's the thing. Sometimes your gifts and your talents, they don't just leave just because you decide to change positions. So he became a motivational speaker. He was traveling all over the place, and so I have a couple clips that I want to show you. Because I think you'll kind of get the gist of what we're doing, because I really feel in everything that's been going on right now that we just need to sit back and laugh.
Watch how your kids grow up to be just like you. That's the best part. My son thinks he's a comedian. That's really not funny. When he was in elementary school, we had a problem. He was making people laugh, but he didn't know when to stop. He was getting in trouble. He always thought he was on stage the whole time. One time he came home from school. I said, "Hey, how was school?" He said, good crowd. I said, "Don't get smart with me." He said, "Whoa, don't worry. I don't want to confuse you." I know. He even does impressions. First day of school, true story. First day of school, the teacher said, "So, young man, what's your name?" And he went, "Well, what's it to you, lady?" Teacher gave me a call. "Mr. Rizzo, we have a problem. Your son thinks he's Jack Nicholson." And I'm like, "What the hell you want me to do?" Here's a word of advice. Don't get on his nerves. So you're laughing. If you ever wanted to know what Nicholson sounded like as a little kid, all you would have to do is just talk to my son. And if you would have talked to him when he was younger, you would have said, "Oh my God, that's a perfect Jack Nicholson. That's what Nicholson would sound like as a little kid." And years ago, I was asked to do some voiceover work for a Jack Nicholson movie that was aired on TV. Now, voiceover work means they take the movie version and they want to put it on network television. And in order to do that, they have to cut the profanity out. So they do that, but then they get someone who can do the voice and fill it in with a regular word. You've seen it. It looks stupid. You know the person's cursing, but they flub in this word. And it was good money. So for 2 weeks, I'm practicing my Jack Nicholson. I'm walking around the house and I'm walking the dogs like Jack, and I'm cleaning the garage like Jack, and my son decides he's going to get into the act, and he started doing the same thing I'm doing. As a matter of fact, he's knocking on my door every morning for 2 weeks going, "Doo, doo, doo. Hey, Jack, you want to go out and have some breakfast?" And it got to the point where the whole family was getting annoyed except for he and I. I just thought it was adorable until the day I took him out for his birthday. And the waitress comes by and gives him an ice cream, his dessert, and a spoon that was huge. It was a huge spoon. My son is checking this spoon out. I know he's going to say something. I just don't know when it's going to be and what it's going to be. So as the waitress is walking away, she goes, "Can I get anybody anything else?" Without missing a beat, my son goes, "Lady, why don't you just give me a damn shovel?" Did you ever reprimand a kid as you're reprimanding him, you're telling him it's not funny as you're laughing at the same time? Because you know what he did was wrong, but the comedian part of me is going, "That's ingenious, man. That's really funny. I love this kid." They're everywhere. How many pet lovers? We have pets out there? People love your pets? I have 3 labs. My wife's the dog trainer. 3 labs, a cat, and 4 exotic birds. Now, how many cat lovers are out there? See, I love cats. Cats are the coolest animals on the face of the planet. You know why? Because every cat on the planet, watch them. You'll start your day off in a great mood. Cats, I don't care where they live, have a New York attitude. Watch the way they walk. They just straight, "Hey, how you doing? All right, hey." I'm serious. If cats could talk, they'd go, "Meow, meow, bada bing, meow. Hey, I'm walking here." They always have that attitude. "How you doing?" Dogs are the complete opposite. I love my labs, but they are the most neurotic animals on the face of the planet. Dogs always have that stupid, guilty look on their face, even if they didn't do it. You come home and you go, "Who made this mess?" "Oh, God, it must have been me. I'm so sorry, I was walking. It came out. Apparently, I'm not well." And the cat's hanging out in the living room going, "What a moron. Geez, what is your problem? I did it and you take the blame." And I have exotic birds. I love my birds. I have an African gray. Do yourself a favor. Tonight, tomorrow, whenever you want to, go online. Look up African gray. It will tell you it is the smartest animal on the planet. Beats out chimpanzees now, dogs, and dolphins. We weaned this bird since it was a baby. It has an incredible vocabulary. It'll talk like me to get my wife's attention. It'll talk like my wife to get my attention. Just the other day, she was on her perch in the kitchen. She went to get off to go for a walk, and she's walking in the kitchen. One of the dogs are in the way, and she goes, "Wally, move, I said now." The dog goes, "Geez, what the heck?" And as the dog is walking away, the bird's looking at him going, "Good boy, good boy." I'm not making this up. It has a sense of humor. It sits on its perch in the kitchen and beckons to all 3 dogs. "Wally, Jesse, Brandy, dinner's ready." And the dogs are running around the house looking for their food. And they look up at the bird, and the bird's looking at them going, "Ah, ah, 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 ah." These are the things I take with me. These are the things that can put you in a great mood. That's how you get through the day. I remember this stuff as when I'm on the road. Another thing that can put you in a great mood every day, do something nice for somebody. Do something nice for somebody. There's nothing that can bounce you back to enjoy the day than that. If you're walking through town, for example, and you see a parking summons on someone's windshield, just walk over to it, rip that sucker up, and throw it away. Why should that person have to pay for that? And you'll feel so much better. All these things that I am telling you is giving you a different thought process, a different focus to look at life from a different perspective. Scientists are all in agreement today that our lives move in the direction of our most dominant thoughts and what we focus on day in and day out. Not only do our lives move in the direction of what we focus on and what we think about, but those very things that we're thinking about and focusing on are moving closer to us. In other words, people, the more you focus on your lack, the more of that you're going to get back.
Well, how about that? I love what you said, Steve. What you focus on. What we focus on is going to be your dominant. It's going to be your dominant way of thinking. Is that what it is?
Yes, it is. And the more you think that way, the more you believe that's the way your life is. And before you know it, you start creating your own reality. And it doesn't have to be true, but if you believe that it's true, that's all that matters in your world. Your subconscious runs 97% of your life. And most people go through their lives creating a belief system that signifies lack of appreciation and lack of joy. And they're not aware of what they're doing to themselves. You get caught up.
Yeah. Well, and the funny thing is, being a believer, a lot of believers, they look like they got baptized in pickle juice, as Joyce Meyer says, as opposed to being baptized in the Holy Spirit. My goodness gracious. They walk around with a frown, and their lips are all, they're all like, who they look like sometimes? Seriously, it reminds me of the Burgermeister from Santa Claus is Coming to Town. I hate toys and toys hate me.
Yeah. Well,
right?
we ought to go on the road together.
I'm just saying.
There are people though, Lisa, that say they're believers, and then there are those who believe, and it's
that's good. Come on.
Yeah, right. And you could tell, and they're the ones that say they believe are the first ones to preach, and they usually don't walk the talk. So, but hey.
We can go on the road together. I can take you and put you, because seriously, there's the one thing that I always speak about, and I think this could be done in any way, shape, and form. I mean, it's something that Jesus said, but Jesus says you will know them by their fruit. But I think that, like, okay, let's just say, you need to find a good dentist. You're not going to go to somebody who has jacked up teeth. You're going to be, hey, who's your dentist? Well, you're not going to, I'm not going to go to him. Yeah. I'm going to go find the one who has the beautiful smile. I'm going to go to the one who says that he's pain-free. I'm going to go to the one who makes the patients laugh and make them feel comfortable. I'm not going to go, to like the dentist in Little Shop of Horrors, who enjoys inflicting pain, So as we go through life, we want to see the different fruit that people bring. And Stephanie actually is from Long Island. Just saying, Steve. I got Stephanie and Teresa, and there was one day I did like my cousin Vinny, pretty much for a good 20 minutes until my kids said, "Stop it! You're annoying."
It was a great movie, though.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So, but we as believers, one of the gifts of the Holy Spirit is joy. And so, I remember back in the 80s when I met you, comedy was everywhere. And it's funny because we went through it until like 1990 something or another. And it just kind of bottomed out, right?
Well, it was forced on people for the longest time. HBO had 6 specials a year. Showtime had 6 specials a year. There were comedians on everywhere, in every club and theater in the country. There were 2 or 3 comedy clubs in small little cities like Omaha, Nebraska, and Des Moines, Iowa. I mean, I was on the road constantly working. I was going from one city to the next without a breather, and they got it lost its. It has to. You have to get to a point where it's going to disintegrate just a little bit, and that's what happened.
Well, see, but the thing is that laughter shouldn't disintegrate. Joy should, people should still want to go, especially now. Oh my gosh, we need it. But my kids, it's funny because I remember, like, and you were like, well, I remember when I was a young lad, it's like, and the people I used to listen to, I'm starting to sound like some of the shtick that I would hear at Rascals, where people were saying that their father would say, well, when I was a young person, because quite honestly, comedy has become extremely dark. And it's also become, it's just, I want to call it, it's like cheap laughs, right? There's no depth, and it's just, and it's usually about, usually it's shaming somebody, it's dishonoring somebody. I didn't think that we did that. I'm not me. I wasn't a comedian. I just played one when I was not working. I would use everybody's comedy. I would use everybody's their bits, throughout the week. But anyway.
But you're right. We need comedy more now than any other time in the history of the planet. And one of the things when I speak to my when I'm on the road speaking, I use what I call common sense success strategies. And one of the strategies I urge people to use every day, and it should start as soon as you open up your eyes to greet the day, is to unleash the power of your humor being on a daily basis. And everyone on this planet, I believe, is born with a humor being within them. Unfortunately, most people go their entire lives never knowing they have this power. Your humor being is of your higher nature. It's a God part of you. It's a part of you that brings out the best in you when times get really tough. What your humor being can give you more than anything else is peace of mind and emotional stability, especially when times are tough. But most people go their entire lives, like I said, and you hear people say, "Well, how do you expect me to laugh when we're living in a pandemic?" Or "How do you expect me to laugh when I was just diagnosed with cancer?" Or "How do you expect me to laugh when someone I love so much is really ill?" Well, that's when you need it the most.
Right.
And people need to understand too, Lisa, that there's a difference between laughing at something that's very serious and allowing yourself to laugh off the fear that represents the subject matter. And that's what we need to be able to do. That's what laughter does. Like the sitcom MASH, most people have seen
Mhm.
that.
Yep.
And I think this is a wonderful example. How many times have you seen Alan Alda, who plays the part of Hawkeye, and he's in the operating room and his hands are inside some kid's insides, blood spurting all over the place, bodies are being brought in by the dozens, lights are going on and off, no medical supplies. And what's he doing in the middle of all this?
Cracking
He's
jokes.
cracking jokes. But
Yeah.
by cracking jokes, he's not negating the seriousness of the subject matter. He just knows intuitively that his humor being is the only saving grace in a place where there seems to be so little hope. And that's what it does. And a lot of people might be saying now, well, gee, Steve, it's a good example, but it's a TV show. But very few people know that MASH was taken from the memoirs from a doctor who was in the Korean War. And in these memoirs, he was saying it was humor that helped him more than anything to laugh off the fear from what they were experiencing throughout that entire war.
Well, there's a couple of things, scripturally, God laughs. It says that he who sits on the throne laughs. So God has a sense of humor. And we know that has a sense of humor because, look at some of the things he's created. I'm just saying, look, he's made not orangutans. What is it with the big butts? Um, somebody had that. Somebody had that. We know that God has a sense of humor because he created, these
He created Jersey Shore.
he created Jersey Shore. Yeah, well then there's that. I'm just saying, but the thing about the joy and the joy of the Lord, it says that the joy of the Lord is our strength. That we can delight, we can be joyous in any situation. A baboon. Thank you, Tara. Thank you. God created baboons. Thank you. I couldn't think of what they were. All right. Anyway, so what God wants us to do is he says the joy of the Lord is my strength. We can rejoice in that. He's sitting and he's laughing. And so when I started to get the joy, which is like a supernatural joy, that it's like, okay, Steve, I can equate it to coming and seeing you and you're just like on a roll and I'm hysterically laughing just on the floor laughing. Okay. Yeah. Laughing hysterical on the floor. And you stop speaking, but I'm still laughing. That laughter that just continues. Yes. And you can't stop it. And the more you try to stop it, the more that it continues. Okay. So when I get hit with the joy, it's actual from God. It just supersedes everything. But there have been times that I've been praying for a person, like what you said, like with somebody who has something serious like cancer. And so I'm praying for somebody who has cancer, and all of a sudden I start laughing. Now I'm not laughing at the situation, but I'm laughing because my spirit is hearing God laugh. Yep. And he's not laughing at the situation. He's laughing because he wants to break that fear. He wants to break that tension. And he wants you to know. It's just like when your kid does something really bad and they come to you and they're like, "I'm so sorry," and it's like something really ridiculous, and you're trying so hard not to laugh.
Exactly.
But it's that same kind of thing.
And just adding to that, you just sparked something. That's when my transition from comedy to speaking started happening, because I noticed that something was happening to me, and I know it was the higher power. I know it was God talking to me. I wasn't aware of it quite then, but as I evolved from a comedian to speaker, I knew something was taking control as I look back. But my point is that there was a point in my comedy career where, in the middle of me making people laugh, I had this incredible feeling that there were people in the audience who were experiencing challenging times of some kind. Maybe they were going through a divorce. Maybe they were having financial difficulties. Maybe they or someone they loved was inflicted with some kind of illness. But for those few moments, those few hours in that comedy club or theater, wherever I was, their challenges and their problems, whatever they were, didn't own them. Why? Because they simply allowed themselves to take time out to laugh. One of my best sayings is laughter is the pit stop in the rat race of life, and that it gives you enough emotional fuel and repairs to get back into the race again. But the initiative and the proficiency by which we allow ourselves to laugh comes from what I call your humor being, and we all have it. The more you use it and challenge yourself to ignite this part of yourself, the more it becomes a part of who you are, and you realize the easier life becomes. We go through the course of our lives, Lisa, and we allow people, situations, and circumstances to literally suck the energy right out of us because we don't know we have these innate gifts from God, and your humor being is one of them, that can help us to deal with this stuff that life throws at us all the time.
Absolutely. And when you start to let's go back to this transition, because I really do want to talk about it. This transition that you went through, there was something inside of you that wanted to transition you out of the being in I want to call it the rat race of being on in the different comedy clubs,
right?
But to actually go and to start making a bigger impact in people's lives. And so I remember when you contacted Rob and you said, "Hey, I'd like to get together all of my bits, but they have to be clean because I'm going to start doing public speaking, and I'm going to motivational speaker." And we thought, well, that's cool. Well, from that, now listen to how God, because we started off with one of the things that I said, that God your calling will call you out.
Right.
So your calling of making people laugh called you not only to the comedy clubs, but called you into corporate America, where you could start speaking. But what it also did is it called out your ability to write 2 books. Come on, 2 books, working on the 3rd. Oh, 4. Right. I'm sorry. I only saw 2 on the thing.
That's okay. That's all. Yeah, I know. You're right, though. I get it.
Okay. So there were 2 books that have been published, one that's about to be published. Okay, which we're going to talk about. But you also now have a podcast. So think about that.
I know.
What you started, what you thought was just going to be working, the system and going from comedy club to comedy club. When you started to see that breakdown, that there was something inside of you that said it's time to shift. Because I think you have a book called Get Your Shift Together.
Yes. Get Your Shift Together. That's right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's definitely one of my books. Mm-hmm. It was a heck of a transition. And to top it all off, Lisa, I just allowed this transformation to take place. I was voted least likely to succeed in my senior class in high school. I was told by a guidance counselor in 8th grade in front of my mom and dad that I didn't have what it takes to go to college. It took me 5 years before I went to college. When I did, I graduated with an 8.7, with a 3.8 something grade average. Mm-hmm. And, but those negative labels stayed with me.
Mm-hmm.
And in every transition, every step along the way. And they kept bringing me back down until eventually I just went on this quest, and I said, I got to turn my life around. And that's what I just started doing. And gradually I was being shown another path. And a lot of people in stand-up kept saying, why did you quit? And I said, I didn't quit. There was a shift in direction. I was called, guided to do something else, and I just went along with it.
Right.
And it didn't happen overnight. It took years. And it was a very tough decision. I mean, 25 years as a stand-up comedian, I was very successful and headlining clubs and theaters. I was doing TV stuff. And then in the middle of it, I just said, that's it. I have to do this other thing. And I had no idea on how to become a speaker. But as soon as I committed to it, all these serendipitous events started taking place, and all these opportunities. It happened so fast. And that's how you know you're on the right path, because you're following the God path, as I call it. You're following what you're supposed to be. Just because you're great at doing one thing doesn't mean that's the thing you're supposed to be doing for the rest of your life. It could be a strategy or a tool that you use, but you got to listen to that part of yourself that's just quietly but powerfully saying, "No, not yet. There's more. There's more, and there's more." And I'm 70 years old now, and I'm still following where I don't even know where I'm going to be next, but I don't know where I'm going, but I know I'm on my way. That's
Yeah.
the point. Yeah.
I think there's I think there's a Simon and Garfunkel song that has that in there. Just saying.
Is it? Is there
Oh yeah, I don't know where I'm going, but I'm on my way. Goodbye, me and Julio down by the schoolyard. Oh,
Oh,
yeah. Paul Simon song. Sorry. See, God talks to me through music. So as soon as you said that,
me and
yeah.
Julio down by the schoolyard.
We were talking because Steve and I we were talking about the our time in the comedy club, and that was such a fun time and such a but there was something that God is doing, and that's where I'm kind of going back there, and I'll bring it back to the present. But there were connections. Yeah, doesn't he look fantastic? He does not look like he's 70. I'm just saying, seriously, does not look like he's 70. But there were connections that God needed to establish back then that were going to then be important in the future. But we didn't know. We didn't know that. We were like, wow, we're friends. Yeah, we love Steve. He's such a great guy. He's so funny. We love to go see him, whatever. But then there was that shift. When you shifted, then Rob shifted, and then our relationship shifted because there was something that was going to come because God had things prepared. That's why I love that where it says in Jeremiah 29:11, it says, I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord. Like God has our path, like completely planned out. However, like you said, Steve, we have to listen to that little voice inside, which I believe is the Holy Spirit, who is trying to talk to us and trying to say, hey, you want to come on, we need to go this way. We need to go this way. And it's about that nudging that pulls us and propels us into the places where we need to go. So when you got shifted into being a public speaker and going around and writing these books and everything, there was still something missing. There was still something missing. And so you had to leave the East Coast and go west, young man,
Yep.
to go and find what you were looking for. It's like that YouTube song. I finally found what I've been looking for. So why don't we talk about that transition? Because there was this where I'm hearing so many songs right now, it's like ridiculous. I'm hearing that song, You and Me Against the World. I'm hearing these songs in my head.
Yeah, well, as
because
that transition was going on, the song that I kept hearing all the time was "Don't Stop Believing" from
uh-huh,
Journey.
uh-huh.
And I moved. It was the complete, without a doubt, the lowest point in my entire life.
Okay.
And it was in the middle of a divorce after 34 years, and it was. I woke up one morning, and I remember talking to myself in the morning, going, "What are you talking about? I can't do this. Why are you allowing me to do this?" And I was just told to move. I had to get away from everything, and the furthest place that I can think of was to go from New York to move to California. And when I told my wife that's what I was doing, she actually was incredibly concerned, and so was I, because I actually thought I was losing my mind. And I told my family what I was doing, the whole thing, and I left, and I rented an apartment in Marina Del Rey. I lived there for 2 years, and I all those negative labels and all those emotions were really starting to take hold of me, and they were ruling my life. And you said something earlier. You said that silent voice is the Holy Spirit, and it is, but there's a voice that you have to be careful of. I call it the big mouth inside your head. Some people call it the enemy, and some people call it the devil, which is pretty appropriate because if you listen to it, there will be hell to pay. And that big mouth inside your head is louder than that silent voice. And usually it rules you for a part of your life. And it was ruling me. So I had to take off, and I moved to California, and I had to face my demons. And I knew that's what I had to do. And I knew it wasn't going to be easy. And I was scared, but I moved forward anyway. To make a very long story short, there was one morning I exercise every day, and it was a 24-hour gym. And after I would work out at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, I would walk on Venice Beach. And walking on Venice Beach early in the morning is not the coolest thing to do. And I remember that's when I lost it. And I don't think I've ever cried so hard in my entire life. And I was sobbing, and I just yelled out, and I was pretty angry at God. And I just yelled out, "What the hell am I doing here? And what the hell is wrong with me?" And no sooner had I said that, I took another step, and I heard a voice within me say, "You know why you're here, and you know what's wrong. You're just too caught up in your own drama to find the answer. It's time for you to walk your talk." And I went, "Whoa." And I immediately got into my car. I drove to my apartment in Marina Del Rey, took out my laptop, and I typed in another question, then another answer came, then another question, then another answer. I was there for half a day, exhausted. I didn't even realize it. And I realized that I was having a conversation with God. I knew that. But I was exhausted, and I let it go for a day. And when I went back the next day to read it, I couldn't believe I wrote what I read. I don't remember it. I didn't remember it, but I knew it was good, and I was pouring me out in words. Then as I kept writing, and I knew I was writing a book, it started formatting into this thing, and then I started using my sense of humor. So the humor was incorporated in this conversation, which made me realize, like you were just saying earlier, God has a sense of humor.
He does.
It's hysterical. It's hysterical.
Mhm.
So that's why I went to California. I didn't know why. Sometimes you don't know why, you just do. And it was because this book would not have been written. And I need that time alone to actually face my demons, to face the pain, to heal. And as the book it took me 8 years to write, 8 years to write that book. As you know, it was just finished
Yep.
4 months ago. Now it's in the printer's hand. It'll
Yep.
be out in 2 months because the printer's having a tough time getting the material. But the name of the book is called Conversations with Bob. Bob is God. If you want to know how God gets the name Bob, you have to read the book. The subtitle is a timeless, entertaining dialogue for living an extraordinary life.
I love
And
that.
it's the best thing I ever did. I believe it's why I was put on this planet. And that's why I have my podcast now. I've only had 4 episodes now. And the name of the podcast is called Hey, I'm Talking Here. And it's all about promoting the book. When it comes out, the ebook will be out in a month and a half. And it's a great little podcast. And it's my way of getting Bob's message out. I think there are too many people on this planet that are trying to deal with the pandemic and the political upheaval and this fast pace that we're all subjected to, and they have lost track on the most important aspect of themselves, and that's the God part of themselves. And people don't even know how to pray anymore. They don't even.
Heck yeah.
They think they do, and that's in part what this book is about too, because the book is about 2 characters. It's all dialogue, Bob and Bernie. Bernie represents every person on this life who feels that their life isn't working on some level or all levels, which includes everyone on the planet. And one of the things that Bob tells Bernie in this book, Bernie has a confrontation with Bob and says, "Hey, I prayed and you didn't answer my prayers." And Bob said, "Oh, I answered them. You were just caught up in your own negativity for the seed possibility to flourish into the full blossom answered prayer. You squashed, Bernie, your own prayers." And Bob says to Bernie, "Didn't you ever hear the saying, God helps those who help themselves?" And Bernie says, "Yes." And Bob goes, "Well, you need to meet me halfway. You need to meet me halfway in order for me to do to you what I can do through you." And she said, once you learn to believe more and to get rid of that negative, constant self-negative talk in your head, things will turn around. And in part, that's just what the book is about.
Well, okay, so when Steve wrote this book, and he was so excited. He was so excited about reading this book. And then you were watching Touch by Prayer. I think I just started to do Crown Chats. And you were talking to Rob, and you're like, "I really want Lisa to read this book." He says,
Yep.
"I really want Lisa to read it." So I read it. Okay, let me just tell you something. I was like, okay, so I started reading it, and I'm like, oh, Steve's a believer. That was the first thing. I was like, oh, Steve's a believer. And then I was like, okay, wait a second. And then I started to read it and I was like, there are so many biblical truths in the way that you wrote it, but it's not like go to 1 Corinthians 13 and go over into Galatians and go over here. It is a book, and it's kind of like, okay, here we go, The Shack, because it's a fictional book about encountering a real God. That's what it is. It's a fictional book about encountering a real God. And just like in The Shack, sorry to give this away, but the Mackenzie who represented William Paul Young, right? He encounters a God that he can relate to. And it blew people's paradigm. It blew people away because they're like, how could you? It's blasphemy. No, it's fiction. Goodness gracious, it's fiction. It's not. God can, if he can come as a burning bush, if he has all of these names, if he can come as a cloud, God can come as anything. God can come as anything, and he has so many different names. And so I do have to share this one thing, and I'm not trying to give it away, but your character, Bernie, says, I'm just going to call him Bob. And he goes, Bob, B-O-B, one way, B-O-B, it's kind of like the Alpha and the Omega, kind of the beginning and the end.
That's so fun.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's the beginning and the end. It kind of works. Okay.
Yep.
So then Bob, because okay, so this is the thing. If you don't know God, you don't understand the reverence. If you don't know God, it's like I told this joke a couple days ago, right? You'll love this, Steve. So this guy comes to he dies, he comes to heaven, and St. Peter's at the gate. St. Peter's always at the gate, you know that, right?
Yeah.
And it's really not true. It's really Jesus. But anyway, so he's at the gate and he goes, how many points do I need to get in here? And he goes, oh, you need 100. He goes, really? He goes, yeah. He goes, well, I was a pastor down on earth, and I pastored for 50 something years. He goes, okay, that'll give you a point. He goes, a point? Now he realizes that, now he's scrambling. He's like, well, I worked in a soup kitchen for 17 years. He's like, really? He goes, all right, I'll give you 3 points. He's like, now he's only at 4 points. He needs 100 to get in, and he thinks he's lived such a good life. So now he's scrambling. He goes, well, when there was this couple, they needed a car, and so I gave them my car, and then I took the bus to work because they had a family and they needed my car. And he's like, oh, okay, 5 points. So he's freaking out because he's doing this, and he's thinking in his head, what did I do on earth? What did I do on earth? Meanwhile, this guy who kind of looks like a homeless person just kind of walks in and he goes, how you doing? He goes, I'm good. And walks right in. He goes, how many points did he have? He goes, oh, he doesn't play this game. He doesn't play this game.
See, I just thought of something. If we went on a road together, we can call it She Said, He Said.
Oh, there you go. I'm just saying, because sometimes our religiosity, that's one of the things that I love about people who didn't know God and then come to God, because they don't have all that religiousness to stop them and block them from seeing God move. That's why, like, people who don't know, oh, wait a second, God heals? Cool. Well, can I do that? Yeah. Oh, great. And then they start healing.
Yep.
They start laying hands on people. People are getting healed. They're seeing signs, wonders, and miracles. All kinds of stuff is happening, right? Because they don't have that voice in the back of their head that says, no, or you're not worthy. And I love that you talked, what did you call that negative voice?
The big mouth inside your head.
The big mouth inside your head. Now, that's the other thing I wanted to talk about. Because look at the difference. You said that there was a small voice inside of you that was telling you to do and to.
That's your true voice. That's the Holy Spirit.
That's the Holy Spirit. Exactly. The other one, the really, really loud one that constantly, and it's in your ear, and it's like, shut up, you. right? Come on, go ahead and do it.
It's the Archie Bunker.
It's
Oh,
the
shut up, dear you, huh?
yeah,
Hey,
exactly.
James, dear Big Mouth, huh?
See, I think
Oh, I think the Big Mouth is talking to you again, Archie.
see the problem is half of these well, the people who are listening here probably remember All in the Family. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Cheers. But we can have fun in everything that we do.
Mhm.
We can have fun in even preaching the word of God and bringing cartoon characters into it. I'm just saying, we can our life. Do you really think? Let me ask you a question, Steve. We're friends. Let's just talk about it. So, do you really think that like Jesus was boring? I'm just saying.
Oh, I think my concept, I think Jesus had an incredible sense of humor.
Heck yeah, he did.
He had to with the guys he hung out
Heck
with.
yeah, they were fishermen. They all smelled. I'm just saying.
I'm just saying. I just picture them walking along the shores of the beach and them asking him all kinds of questions, and Jesus is shaking his head, going, "Oh, ye of little faith," and saying it with the Archie Bunker voice. Oh, geez, yeah, huh? How many times I got to tell you guys, dear? A little faith, huh?
Right?
Yep.
And that's the whole thing. When we make things too when we make things too complicated and we make things too, it's not fun.
Oh.
This is the thing. People who don't believe in God think he's boring. I've had more fun with God. I've had so much fun with God. Do you remember?
That's one of the reasons why I wrote the book.
Exactly.
Because people think I'm here and God is way somewhere else, untouchable. He can't be a friend.
Right.
So this book just brings you, God is here. And all you have to do, and that's what basically the book is about. You got to acknowledge that it's there, learn how to connect to it, and then you can communicate with it.
Right.
And that part of you has the answers to all of your questions, solutions to all of your problems. And if you're connected to it on a consistent basis, life becomes easier. It doesn't mean you're not going to have any challenges. Of course you will.
Right.
But it just means that there is a way, and this part of you, no matter how severe that challenge is, will guide you through it every step of the way. And I think the dialogue, it's like I said, between Bob and Bernie, just makes you realize, wow, it's here, and I could feel it, and feeling is way more important than seeing. But something happens as you are feeling it. You do start seeing things clearly.
Right.
And which is why I gave it to you, because that was a test to me. I said, well, Lisa's going to look at me and say she either really likes it, or she's going to say, Steve, this is way off course or something. And you got it.
No. And because I don't operate in that religious paradigm. I just refuse. I refuse to go there because, quite honestly, life is too short. And who am I to put restrictions on how God moves?
Yeah. Yep.
You know what I mean? And if God wants to show up on the beach out in California and encounter someone and have a conversation with them and birth a book, which is not just going to be a book, because I've already said this to you, Steve. It's I see it becoming either a movie or becoming a sitcom, because this could be a long-running kind of thing of changing. Because this is one of the things that I love about the movie, the show, The Chosen. That's why I have it says Binge Jesus. It's just backwards because I have it on mirror. But the thing about have you seen The Chosen?
No.
Oh, I'm going to send it to you. I'm going to send it to you. It's so good. But it basically is how Jesus chose his disciples. And the way that they were, and the way that he talked to them, and the way that he interacted with them, because he was fully human. Jesus was fully human. He did not sit there and say, thou, thus, and thou. I mean, he wasn't. He was talking to them like a friend. He was trying to take the religiosity and kick it to the curb.
Yeah.
And quite honestly, if Jesus were here today, he would be on Facebook, he'd be on YouTube, he'd be like, hey, Jesus here, and I'm doing this YouTube video, and I'm going to show you, my disciples, how to do things. Like,
Yeah.
this is how he
Yeah.
would be. He would be funny. He would be relevant. He would use the words and the things that we're doing now to reach a generation that is completely lost.
Yep.
And so when we look at how you're using humor to attract people who love to laugh, who love to be joyful, and you're attracting them back to the joy giver,
Yeah.
that's basically what this book is doing. It's giving people a way to open up their idea that there is something bigger and there is someone who loves them.
And that's all. That's the main message I just wanted to convey to people. I don't attest that I am the greatest Christian in the world, or I just knew that God was leading me to write something, because so many people today just don't believe in anything. And if they do believe in something, it's the wrong thing. And I just wanted to let people know that there's a part of you that's there. Acknowledge it, connect to it, and communicate with it. The more you do, the more it becomes a part of who you are. And I can promise you, life becomes easier, even in the midst of challenging times. It's
Well, think about do you know, if you go to an Irish wedding, Irish funeral, sorry, if you go to an Irish funeral,
yeah,
the two things that are going to be there are going to be jokes,
yep,
and liquor.
yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, an Irish wedding. It's he lived, he died. Now it's Miller time. Yep.
Exactly.
Exactly.
You know? And that's how they cope through their tears. That's how they cope through life, is that they try to find the joy. They try to find the funny. You know,
Yep.
I want to say Italians are the same way, to be quite
Yep.
honest. And
Yep.
definitely here at the Perna household, there's always some kind of a joke going on. So,
Yeah.
you know, there is that sarcasm, that thing that we take the difficult situations and we try to find the humor in it, you know, and especially people who've had very like when my siblings and I get together and we talk about the stories, and there are lots of stories. Let me tell you something. My mother makes Lucy Ricardo look like an amateur. I'm just saying. I have so many stories about my mom. And what happens is when we get together and we start sharing these different stories, where maybe at the time we're hard and we're emotional and we're difficult, and there might have been problems and situations, but as we got healed, as we processed through it, we can now find the humor in it. We can now make fun of it. We can now see the different things that used to bring that's how you can tell how you have been healed.
Yep.
Based on, I think, the amount of humor that, can you go there? That kind of thing.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's I was blessed, excuse me, to throughout my comedy career and speaking career to run into so many people, even famous people, very famous people, who had incredible tragic things happen to them, where they've said that humor was one of the strategies that helped them to cope with it and to move forward and become empowered as a result. And I've always said, before I even wrote the book, that humor is one of the greatest gifts that God ever gave us. But what good is a gift if you don't use it?
Oh, come on.
And we have become so politically correct today that there are so many people saying, that's not funny, this is not funny. Yeah, if you could find the humor in anything, you can survive it. Even Viktor Frankl, who was in Auschwitz, a prisoner in Auschwitz, in his book, which is one of the best-selling books of all time, what was it? What was the name of that book? Viktor Frankl, and he was in Auschwitz, and he even says everything can be taken from a person but one's attitude. And he even went through knowing that his wife was killed, his daughter was killed, and one of the things that helped him to survive the prison camp in Auschwitz when millions of Jews were killed was his sense of humor.
Yeah.
Every day he insisted on cracking jokes on his situation, on their plight where they were, and they would create these little satirical plays, even though it meant that sometimes they would they would have to miss what little rations they had. They would get together and create these little plays where they would laugh at their plight and crack jokes. And he made a statement which I thought was very profound. He said, sometimes nourishment of the soul is way more important than nourishment of the body.
Yes. Come on.
Man's Search for Meaning. That's the name of the book by Viktor Frankl.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing too is like when I remember you and I were talking about this before we started the broadcast. We were talking about Robin Williams did this movie. It was called Patch Adams, where he was a doctor. It's based on a true story, but he was a doctor who worked in a children's hospital. And what he did is he used humor to help these children who were dealing with debilitating diseases in order to keep them happy. I love to quote, Legally Blonde because she basically said that, she goes, exercise releases endorphins, and endorphins make people happy, and happy people don't kill each other. Or they don't kill other people. Happy people don't kill other people. And I think about that. It's like, well, what do we do when we're miserable? Is we want to pull everybody down to us. Because we don't want to see it. Like people, when, me, but I come into a room and I'm full of like, hey, how are you? Blah, blah, blah. And as soon as there's somebody in that room who is in a place, I'll call it, they're in the pit, the pity pit, and they don't want to hear they don't like me. Why is she so happy? Why is she so happy? And it's the way I was created to be. It's just in my DNA. But also it's because I don't usually allow the circumstances in my life to steal my joy. And it took a while. Because, there are a lot of comedians. I once had Bob Nelson. I love Bob Nelson. And I had Bob Nelson, who was on my broadcast, Touched by Prayer. He was talking about how his wife became a Christian, and he didn't understand it until he had an encounter with God. And it's very interesting that there are a lot of believers who were atheists or who were running from God. But then when you start to see the goodness of him, when you start to see how he just accepts you, come as you are, and he accepts you regardless of what past, whether you have any kind of religion, you don't have religion, to him, it doesn't matter. He's just looking for sons and daughters. That's what he's looking for.
Yep. And they're all around. And some people are the sons and daughters and they don't know it.
Oh, come on. That's good.
Yeah. And it's, I don't know, sometimes certain things just click to a person, and that one little click stays with you. And even if you try to ignore it, which is what happened to me, because when I was doing stand-up, I was partying my butt off. I mean, big time. Mm-hmm. And, it was a wild life. But I just kept getting this calling that there's more to life. And then when I started looking at the audience and started saying, boys, there's a lot of people that are feeling good and right now because I'm making them laugh, and they could be going through some serious stuff. And that evolved into something more, to doing more investigating. And then when I was in my speaking career, I had the pleasure of meeting Christopher Reeve and Dana Reeve 5 months before Chris passed away. Now, for those of you who don't know who, for those of you who don't know, excuse me,
Superman.
Yeah. And for those of you who don't know, he's the first actor to play the role of Superman in the movies in the early 80s. And he became paralyzed from the neck down as a result of a horseback riding competition. And we were both keynote speakers in the San Diego Convention Center. There were like 7,000 people. And I was the opening keynote and Chris was the closing keynote. And when I got off the stage, Dana Reeve approached me right in front of all these people. She ran up the center aisle and gave me a big hug and kissed me on both cheeks and said, Chris would love to meet you. And I was taken by surprise. I said, I would love to meet him. And apparently Chris and Dana saw my entire presentation in the green room on a TV screen with 8 other people. So when I walked in to see Chris, I saw him sitting there, and it was such a shock to me, because when you hear about someone in that condition, it's one thing, but when you see it, it's a totally different vibe. The only parts of his body, Lisa, that he could move were his lips and his eyes and his eyebrows. That was it. And he looked at me and he said, Steve Rizzo, he goes, it's a pleasure to meet you. I watched your presentation. And he goes, and I live by your philosophy of gratitude, and especially the part about your humor being. He said, if it wasn't for my sense of humor, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing. I wouldn't even be here right now. And if you were to read his book, Nothing's Impossible, it's a great book. It's about how to overcome major adversity with an unstoppable attitude. And the longest chapter in the book is humor in his book, where he says that humor was the one thing that helped him to prevail. And he found something to be grateful for to move forward. And yes, he did pass away 5 months later. But what Christopher Reed, that's not the point. The point is what we do with our lives and the time that is allotted us. No one knows how much time they have on this planet.
Nope.
But the point is that what he accomplished in those 9 years of his life in that condition was nothing short of miraculous.
Come on.
He accomplished more in those 9 years, and I don't even have time to tell you what he did in that condition. More in that condition than most people I knew can do in a lifetime, and I know a lot of people. And he makes the statement that it was his sense of humor more than anything that helped him to prevail and to move forward. And he even said to me, it brought me closer to God. That was one of the things that he said. And he has a quote saying, my life isn't what I thought it would be, but there is joy, there is love, and there is laughter. That's one of his quotes.
I love that.
Blew me away. And that was a sign for me from the higher part of me saying, you're on the right track, you're doing the right thing.
Well, and let's look at that for just an instance. Let's just say, I'm trying to, there we go. Hello. Let's just look at when we have these divine encounters. These divine encounters are setups for something that God is going to be doing in your future. I mean, regardless of whether it's a short meeting or a long meeting, there's always something there, right? There's always something that God is trying to do. He's trying to help you to move into a place, or to see yourself in a place that you didn't really see yourself before. And so when we start to look at these different times where we meet different people and we don't understand it, it's really because God has something down the road where that's going to, because I'm sure that there's been times where there's been the big mouth inside of your head that's like, nobody's really listening to you, Steve. You might as well just pack it up and go back home, and nobody's going to read your books. But you could think of that confrontation, or that meeting, right? That divine setup with Christopher Reeve, where he said, no, you're doing the right thing. It's like those are the, I want to call them, those are like the altars in our life. Those are the places where we can go back and we can say, okay, God was there in the midst of that. And we can, I'm sorry, I'm having some lighting issues. And we can go back to those places and we can say, okay, God is telling me this or doing this because he wants me to see something that I'm not seeing.
Yeah. Well, right now there's a light shining on you, so your lights.
I know. I'm going to fix
your lights. Your lights are doing that for a reason. You're saying something, and that's God's way of going. Yeah. Well, I think I'll shine a light on you.
Yeah. Let's just pay attention to that. It's always something, right? It's always something.
No, that's pretty cool. No, I love it, and we have more within us than we think we do sometimes, and I think the more I go further with my life, the more these people are coming into my life, which just reestablishes that I'm on the right path, regardless of what the big mouth inside my head said to me. And I told you last night, or when we spoke, it was last night, and I said, this big mouth right now, I said, this book isn't out yet. It won't be out for a couple of months because of the big delay in printing. I said, but you know what? I have Fortune 100 and 500 clients. How are they going to take the fact that I'm bringing a spiritual aspect to my presentations? Is this? And I had that big mouth saying to me, "Oh, yeah, they're not going to hire you. No one wants to talk about religion, and to their people, and it's going to be tough for you to get work." And there are times when I will have that urgency to go, what am I doing? But then all of a sudden they just go, no, I'm doing the right thing. I'm doing the right thing. And, that's when I tell the Big Mac just to take a back seat and shut up. And I'm following my heart. When you follow your heart, you can't go wrong, regardless of what it may seem. You can't go wrong. So that's what I'm doing where it takes me. I think I told you this yesterday too. I'm not at this point in my life, I'm not where I thought I would be, but I know I'm where I'm supposed to be. And
I
that
love that. I
yeah,
love that so much because nobody has finished their race yet, because if we finish our race, we'd be home. I'm just saying.
yeah.
But I mean, did I really believe back in 1980, blah, blah, that I was going to be ministering to people, or I was going to be doing a broadcast, where I was going to be talking about the goodness of God, where I was going to be sharing the different encounters, or that or that I was going to see miracles, that I was going to see people healed, I was going to see people set free, I was going to see backs move, or I was going to see legs grow out. I mean, I had no clue. But there were seeds planted inside of me by God from different people saying that this is who you're going to be. At some point in my life, I knew that there was something, and I thought about becoming an actress at a very, very, like, I was going to be an actress and people were going to know who I was. Like, that was the thing. I remember in third grade, like, I used to sign my my name, and I would practice my autograph, because in third grade there was something inside of me that said people are going to know you. And I remember that there was a dream that I had long time ago, and I remember that there was this man who came over to me and he said, oh, would you please sign, no, it was a woman, she goes, would you please sign my book, My Father Loves You? And I remember her opening up this book, and I remember my signing this book, and I was wondering, why am I signing a book? And here I am writing a book.
Wow.
Which is it's so amazing,
Yep.
because God will take your circumstances, and we might not understand them, but there's that scripture where it says that we will get beauty for the ashes, for the stuff that we've done, for the times that we've even made mistakes. He can take those things that we think are broken, and he can put them back together, and he can show his goodness in everything. And I think that this book, the Conversations with Bob, it's just the beginning, because
Yeah.
because we were trying. I remember back in the 90s. I remember in the late, it was like 96, 97. I remember that we were trying to do the cartoon about the time machine.
Yep.
Right?
Oh my, yeah. Hopetown.
Come on, Steve.
Yeah.
That was and the funny thing is that as things, there was something prophetic in that, but we didn't even know what we were doing. How we were going to be trying to go in through this time machine to go back to fix history, because history was changed, and we needed it to become the right history.
Wow, I forgot all about that.
Well, so did I, but until God just reminded me.
Yeah. I went to 3 meetings with Hanna-Barbera with that cartoon. Mm-hmm. And everyone's telling me once you have the 3rd meeting, that means they're going to buy it.
Right.
But they didn't. They turned it down. They just thought it was a little too syrupy or whatever.
Little real.
It gave too much hope to people. Dang.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, the thing is that, if we've been paying attention, we can see how they've been trying to manipulate our history. Hello.
Oh yeah, I know.
They've been trying to manipulate our history, and they've been changing our books, and they've been changing stories, and they've been trying
knocking
to get
down statues and
Mm-hmm. And so if you look at what Hopetown was, and there were all these different people. I remember there was like the Velma with the glasses.
Yeah.
Right?
That was I know there was Ricky Rat.
Yeah.
Wheeler the cat, who was paraplegic, and he was in a wheelchair, and had a state-of-the-art wheelchair.
And that was a time machine, wasn't it?
That was the time machine, yeah.
They'd all have to sit on his lap, and they would go.
Yep. Wow. I know, it's pretty cool.
And you would do the voices, and you had the different voices.
Yeah, I had all the voices.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll bring that back at some point.
No, I'm just saying, because right now we need hope.
Oh yeah.
But the cool part of it was that there was something that was put inside of you that started a creative process to say, I'm more than just a comedian.
You're 100% right. And I'm at the point in my life now, Lisa, where I'm realizing, we all of you that are listening right now, you could be questioning why life did this and how come I never got that, or why this. If you be patient and go through this with a little bit more faith, at some point in your life, you're going to wake up, or you're going to go through the course of a day, and you're going to go, oh, that's why that happened. Because if that didn't happen, this wouldn't have happened, and I wouldn't have got this, or I wouldn't have met this person. My life is at the point where it's almost full circle, and all the things that I doubted and questioned, or even thought I was cursed, the things that I curse now have become my greatest blessings,
Come on. Come
without a
on.
doubt, because I learned from it. It made me stronger. It empowered me. And now I am in a position, with all the crap that I went through and put myself through, I'm in a position now where my mission in life is to get people to know that they can make their lives easier than they ever imagined. And
Yes.
the step one is knowing that there's a higher part of you, the God part of you, that it's always, always, no matter what you do, it's
Yep.
always there. You just got to acknowledge it. And then you learn how to connect to it, and then you can actually communicate and talk to it. And the
Yep.
answers come in the most profound ways.
Yep.
When I ask a question, when I always go to the beach, I still go, even if it's below zero. I bundle up and I'm on the beach by myself. I'm only 7 minutes away. I live on Long Island, and I'll ask a ton of questions. Sometimes I'll get it right away, but I know the answer's coming. It can come from a billboard. It can come from a conversation with someone. It can come from a commercial that I'm listening to, a comedian with a song. It always comes, always. So I'll shut up now.
No, you're good. And that's the whole thing. Well, you're going to start talking my language because now you're saying songs. I mean, God sings songs to me all the time. I mean, and the songs that he puts into my mind, it's so relevant for what I'm going through. And it's like he
Yep.
speaks through the music. He speaks through TV. I mean, he has spoken through cartoons and even the Brady Bunch. I'm just saying, he can use anything.
Yeah.
He's used movies. He's used gosh, I mean, think about all the different ways that God can communicate. He communicates through people. He can tell you to keep going. When you had that encounter with Christopher Reeve, those were God moments. Whether we want to talk, acknowledge that he is real, he's a very real God. He's a very real God. And
Yep.
we just have to keep saying to ourselves, okay, I know that God is for me. How
Yep.
about that?
Yep. Yep.
You
And
know?
and when you pray, don't expect the prayer to be answered when you want it answered. It will happen in God's time. It's always in God's time. It could take months, it could take weeks, it could take days, it could take an hour. And that's the biggest problem people have when they do pray. And Bob explains that to Bernie.
Well,
With- with-
I also believe too, Steve, because God is a God, like you said, of timing. But I
Yep.
also believe that sometimes it's our doubt that comes
Oh
into
yeah.
agreement with that big mouth. And because we come into agreement with the big mouth, we don't get to see the prayer answered because we've already made our decision to go down the big mouth route. So there sometimes sometimes it's not a he problem. Sometimes it's a me problem.
Oh, because when you pray, you have to allow God to work through you, and God can't work through you if you're consumed with doubt and you don't believe.
Right.
There are a lot of people, they'll pray maybe with a lot of optimism and a belief that it's going to be answered, and all of a sudden 3 days go by, 4 days go by, and the big mouth inside their head says, "There you go again. It's not happening.
Right.
What is this? What's going on?" As soon as
Right.
you do that, you're opening up the door to the negative zone, and
Right.
you're allowing more like thoughts to come into play. Those
Right.
thoughts will create a negative belief that you have about what's going on in your life. And then sometimes I think God is up there going, "You blew it again."
Well, all right. I'm going to say that God gives us. God is he. I don't believe that God gets frustrated with us. I think, although Jesus is like, how long do I have to be with you? It's like, do until you get it, because there was a timing. Jesus knew that there was a timing, and he wanted to make sure that they got it. But the interesting part is that when we start to make mistakes, I always hear that song, she'll be coming round the mountain when she comes. See, everything that we go through, there is a mountain that we have to go go over, not around. So many people want to go around the mountain, but God's like, you can't go around the mountain. You're at some point, you're going to have to go over that mountain, and you're going to have to claim that mountain as mine. There are certain situations that we're like, well, yeah, I can't do that. That's just too big. I'm just not going to do that. I'm not, I'm out. And God's like, nope, then you have to go back around the mountain. You're going to have to go back around the mountain until you start climbing over it. And it's like that song in The Sound of Music, climb every mountain.
Yeah.
We have to climb every mountain. We can't be afraid, because we have to know that as God, that God is for us and that he is going with us. So when we keep, saying, oh, I can't do this, I can't do that. One of the biggest things that used to frustrate me as a mom is when my kids would say, I can't. Because as soon as they said that they can't, then they couldn't. That was it. That can't became a stopping block. And it was like, nope. And so I would try to shift that can't into can. And that's what God wants to do in every situation, where we could be going along and then we come up against this roadblock, and it's like, I can't go through there. And God's like, with me you can, because you're not seeing that path over there, or you're not looking, you didn't see the detour that took you just a little bit further. You didn't see that, because sometimes we're so wrapped up into the can'ts that we just can't see the can.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well said. Absolutely well said. The three principles in the book that Bob conveys to Bernie, and the whole book is based on this, actually, is principle number 1: you are the creator of your success and happiness. Mm-hmm. What that means is it's not what happens to you that determines how successful or how happy you're going to be. It's what you do about what happens. It's the choices you make.
Right.
And the principle number 2 is you're the only problem you will ever have. And somewhere within you, there is always a solution waiting to be discovered. You just have to learn how to get out of your way and to be still, so that you can allow the solution to reveal itself to you. And the third principle, which is, I think, the most important, and this is why people can't climb that mountain. The third principle is, whenever you're confronted with a challenge or a problem of any kind, it's never a matter of managing the situation. It's always a matter of how you manage your mind. Mm. Can you manage your mind and the thoughts and those toxic beliefs that are keeping you from finding the solution that's waiting to be discovered and the life that you desire? And that's it.
Well, okay, so let's take those things, let's take those principles, and we have to say, okay, so we have to do a mind shift, right? Yep. Right? Yeah. So it's like, shift this. So it's time to shift some stuff. But how do we shift into a truth? Well, it says that the renewing of your mind happens by reading the Word of God. And so, like, if you look at, like, there's a story of King David. He wasn't a king quite yet. But he went back. The King Saul was now gone. So now David could become the king. He went back to this town called Ziklag. And when he went to this town to go and because that's where he left his families, all the soldiers left their families, they left their possessions in this town called Ziklag. And when they came back to Ziklag, everybody was gone. Everybody was stolen. Somebody came in, they took their kids, took their possessions, took their wives, and they took them all, right? So here we are. David's there. He's looking at all of his soldiers. Now his soldiers are pissed at him because they went out into battle and they really didn't do anything, because David refused. He refused to kill the king. He refused. He said, I will not kill the king. And so they kind of felt like it was a waste, right? So they come back, they're mad. And so David won't even look at them. He won't even look at them. But it says that he encouraged himself in the Lord. He reminded himself of the times that God took him through things. And so when we start to come into difficult situations, we can go through the different times that we have heard that little voice that pulled us out of a place of despair. We can go back to the different accomplishments that we know that God took us to. The different meetings, those chance meetings. It could be that door, that opportunity that swung open, that catapulted me into a whole new direction, where I had an encounter or a meeting where I wrote something that I was like, I don't even remember writing this, but it's those things that we keep in the back of our head. I'm using your examples, and we can use those different times in our life that say, okay, God was with me through all of those things. So why would he leave me now? Why would he leave me now? That's starting the process of renewing your mind into walking into faith.
Yep.
Because God is going to be there. God is going to be there in the midst of your troubles, that God is there. And sometimes, like you said, sometimes we're focused so much into the minutia of what we're dealing with, not turning to see that Jesus is standing right there. Like it's kind of like, do you remember the wrestlers that, you'd have the WWE wrestlers, right? And sometimes they would do tag team wrestling. And so you'd have these like Hulk Hogan and Randy Macho Man over in the corner against a few other people, and they'd be wrestling and you could see that, Hulk was getting tired and Macho Man's like, dude, come on.
Tag him.
Just tag him. That's all you had to do was tag him.
That's a good analogy.
But if that's all Jesus, because that's all I'm seeing right now. So, but if you're I'm just telling you, I got nothing. I got what's in here. I'm telling you, if you're in here, it's a scary place, because God's constantly showing me stuff. So here you are, you have the Hulk. And if the Hulk is too prideful, now hear this out. If he's too prideful and thinks that he has it, what's going to happen? If he's going down for the count and he's not realizing that there is help and he refuses help, he's going to lose.
Yeah.
But if he can surrender his pride and saying that this is not a one-man show, but that I need the second man. Oh, this is so good. Now, okay, I'm saying that because God's showing me something else. That he can tag, Macho Man to come in. That's when everything changes, because he's refreshed. Do you know the story about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego?
No. Okay.
So Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they were cousins. And they were actually cousins of Daniel, who was a prophet and who was with King Nebuchadnezzar. And there was this law that went into effect, and it said that people could only worship King Nebuchadnezzar. That's it. And if you were caught worshiping anything other than King Nebuchadnezzar, that you would be thrown into a furnace. Okay? Well, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were Hebrew. They were Jewish, and they were worshiping the one true God, and they didn't care. And so they were caught worshiping God. They were caught, and so they were taken, and King Nebuchadnezzar was so pissed off that they were breaking his law, that they put him into a fire, and it was 10 times hotter than normal. In fact, it says that the guard who put them in actually burned because it was that hot. It was so stinking hot. So as King Nebuchadnezzar is all excited that he's going to watch these three men burn in this furnace, he looks inside and he goes, there is a fourth man in that fire. There is a fourth man in that fire. Didn't I put in 3? But yet I see 4. And one of them looks like the Son of God. Mm-hmm. When they came out of the fire, the only thing that was taken off were their ropes. They weren't burned. Their clothes weren't burned. And they didn't smell like smoke. It's those stories that we can see that there is always a fourth man in the fire, that Jesus shows up, whether he's standing on the sideline wanting to be tagged into a wrestling match between you and the devil, because he's like, hey, tag me in. Hello, I'm here. Tag me in. But sometimes we become so self-focused in the stuff that we're going through that we yet to look to the side.
Yep.
That we don't look, and it says, where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord. We forget to look up. We forget to ask. And sometimes, you know what? Sometimes that fourth man can come into a friendship. God can, and Jesus can move through people and send somebody to come alongside you who will be with you. He can send a phone call. Hey, you know what, Lise? Go ahead and call Steve. He's having a rough day today. Can you go ahead and give him a call and just let him know that I love him and that I'm here for him and that he's on the right path? Hey, Steve, do you think that you can send somebody a text? Because, you really have such a beautiful way of encouraging people. Can you do that for me? See, that's when...
It's so funny you should say that because I do that.
I know you do.
I do that. I have people, and they always respond. Not always, 95% of the time. It's funny how unconsciously, on an subconscious level, they will say, there's this woman that I'm mentoring. She's 20 years old. I love her to death. She's just so much positive energy, but sometimes she really gets herself into a depression because she's that highness sometimes overwhelms her.
Sure.
So I haven't heard from her in a while. And I texted her. I said, I'm thinking of you. Let me know what's going on. Sometimes, all you have to do is just talk. And I knew something was bothering her. I just felt it. And they always respond with, oh, my God.
Mm-hmm.
They always start off with that. Oh, my God.
Yep.
You did it again. How do you know these things? And I laugh my ass off because I know. Sometimes I'll even pick up the phone and I'll just say, hey, I just want to know what's going on. And they'll say, no, things are fine. They'll say, no, really, what's happening? And all of a sudden I'll get it. I'll know that something is not bothering. And they all start off with the, oh, my God. And I always thought that's so funny because that's why I called in the first place.
Because God told you to.
Yeah, yeah.
And sometimes we don't believe. Well, why would God tell me to reach out to that person? They don't even believe. Why would God tell me to go and do that? Because they're his kids. They're his kids. And we can look right now, we're in a time where people need to know that God cares about them. Do you have to go?
No, not yet.
Okay. Because I'm wrapping up. But we're in a time where God is, he's very, very present in what we're going through right now. He is extremely present. And, we're hearing things and we're seeing things, and, people are given opportunities right now to get to know him before, they might have their last breath. I mean, I think about the 9/11, that there were children who were telling their parents, please don't go to work, Daddy. Please don't go to work. Please don't go to work today. And that parent stayed home and therefore weren't involved in the Twin Towers, losing their life there. There have been times that people were going to go and they were going to go on a plane, and what happened? There was a big pile up or a car accident or something, or the road was closed or something, and they missed their flight, and therefore they did not get on the flight that crashed. There are so many stories where we can see the hand of God, but then we can say, well, then what about the other people? Can I just say this? Free will. Everybody has free will. God does not want anybody to perish, but it's, who are you concentrating on? Who are you listening to? Are you looking for Jesus to say, tag me in? So many people go through life wrestling with the devil, constantly thinking that they can overtake him, when Jesus is like, you're not going to win unless you have my help. You can't win. That's the thing. It's like, how when you go to a racetrack, no matter how fast that horse is, that sometimes the race is rigged. You just know it. You just know it. That eventually, that most gambling establishments, that they have it in the favor that they're going to win. It might look like you have it for a little bit, but at the end, they're there to take your money. It's the same thing. Life without Jesus, it looks like you might be able to do it, but there's going to come a point, there's going to come a time where you're going to have to call out, and you're going to have to call out to Jesus. There's going to be a time where God or Bob is going to start speaking to you, and he's going to start changing your life and say, this is why I've created you. There's going to come that point, and it's going to be that split in the road that says, I don't have to do life alone anymore.
Well, that's the key phrase right there. Once you get that first answer, that first guided response, uh, you got to say to yourself, "Wow, this really works."
Mm-hmm.
And your subconscious will just say to you, "Yeah, and why don't we use this from now on when we feel like we're falling? Why don't we use this from now on when we're having a problem? When life is throwing something at us that's so hard for us that we can't deal with it? Remember what happened to you the last time, and you reached out, and Jesus was there for you."
Mm-hmm. And that's the whole thing. So Steve, if people want to go and find your stuff, this is your website. So if you guys are interested, you can go to steverizzo.com. Don't call him. Well, unless you want to laugh. You can call him if you want to laugh. But that is his card. So if you are interested in going to his website, steverizzo.com, you can find his books. He has 2 of his books. On there, the 3rd book is coming. You can also find some of his programs. You can also tune in on Facebook. So go make sure that you become friends with him. Which, hey, I'm talking here.
Yeah, that's my podcast.
That's the podcast.
We've had 4 episodes so far. I'm very excited about it. It's called Hey, I'm Talking Here. We have special guests, and it's a show about empowerment, and it's a show that will not only take you to a better place personally, but professionally. And in my view, that's the ultimate success. It is every other Thursday. The next show will start January 20th. January 20th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So every other week for now, and then it'll go every week. And it's entertaining, it's fun, and I offer, again, what I call common sense strategies that will just empower you and bring you to a better place in your life. Elisa, I thank you so much for having me on your show. And God, it's just so much fun. I learned so much from you. And
thank you, Linda. Go ahead.
By the comments, it's amazing. You have a wonderful following. And you folks, if you're going to go on my podcast, Hey, I'm Talking There, all I ask, and if you like it, and I think you will, just share it with other people. My mission is like Lisa's mission. I want to get my message out. I want to get the word out. And I believe we're at a point in this, not just this country, but on the planet, where people need to know that they have to start making wiser choices.
Come on. That's really, of course, being a comedian, we just lost from Full House.
Bob Saget.
Thank you. And so, which was a shock, because after talking to Bob Nelson, a lot of comedians, they really they come from a very broken place. And so that, just like you said, you use comedy to cope. And so, I think about some of the different comedians who were brilliant, just brilliant. I always think about, what's the comedian he would do the thing, nothing but love songs. I just broke up with my girlfriend and I'm going to listen to Casey Kasem's Nothing But Love Songs.
Yeah. I know what you're talking
right? About. 24 hours, slit your wrist, love songs.
Nothing but love songs.
Yeah, nothing but love songs.
I just lost my job. Nothing but love songs.
Nothing but love songs, right? It's just like, it's those times where it's like,
Yeah.
But we're using that comedy because it's something that helps us to deal. It helps us to see things in such a different way, and to relate without feeling ashamed, without feeling less than. Do you know what I mean? And that's kind of where I feel that God is really wanting us to be. He wants us to be in a place where we can kind of help people, help people to see his light. And that's what I believe that this book, Conversations with Bob, is going to do. And like I said, we're all in a journey. We're all in a journey, and God can meet us right where we are. And so we might start off saying, Holy Father, and that's all we can say because, we're so afraid. But then we come to a place, I started out Holy Father, and then I came to a place where I'll call him Papa, So, there's a place where you can call God, like I don't know, like the big kahuna.
Yeah.
You
Which
know,
is what
the big kahuna up there,
yep.
not
Yeah,
saying.
yeah.
And but then you can get to a place of intimacy where you can call him Father.
That's the key. That
Yes.
is the key. Yeah, it's like what Jesus said: "Seek and ye shall find." And you could the book that this book will take you to the place, the foundation where you need to start and find your own way.
Mm.
It's there. It's all there. I wish it could come out sooner than the delay that they just put on it,
Well,
but
I'm
that's
going to
just the way.
say his timing is perfect.
I was just going to say, I was just going to say that. Why did I say that? Because of course, I know that.
Mhm.
But that was the big mouth inside my head saying, "See, it's not going to happen. You think it's going to happen, but, but no." It's all I ask, and that's what my show is about. Hey, I'm talking here. I welcome comments as the show's on. I would love for you to participate. And pretty soon we're going to have a segment called a Q&A segment. We're going to call it Everyday People, who will come in with questions and problems. And like I said, it's at the beginning stages. And I thank you, Lisa, for just having me on your show. You seem to have an incredible following. And
Absolutely. And I'm just going to say this too. If you guys, if you're looking for some fun, that's a great thing, because what we're going to do, I'm going to talk to Steve, and we're going to get him on D Live. We're going to get him on Cloud Hub. We're going to try to broaden his reach, because that's what friends do. Friends share friends. That's what we do. So I just love you, Steve. I think you are so awesome. And I'm just going to ask, you got a little bit of funny to leave us with today? Because you always got a little bit of funny.
So she's got to put me on the spot.
I do have to put you on the spot, because I know there's something in there. I know there's something that you could just pull up out of the blue. So I'm just saying.
There is always something. Actually, I could just tell you a story about my granddaughter. It's not hysterical, but it's endearing and it's funny. It's just amazing how kids are. Wasn't too long ago, I was talking to my son, and we were talking about my divorce. And I didn't notice my granddaughter and my grandson. She's 6 years old, and they're playing in the corner. And I unknowingly didn't know that she was listening to me talking to my son. And as I was talking about the divorce, I got pretty emotional, and my granddaughter apparently noticed it, and she held it in. She didn't say anything, and it's amazing. A couple of hours went by, and I said, "Okay, Pop's going to leave now." And as I went to leave, she runs up and she says, "Pop, wait." And I said, "What?" And she jumps in my arms. I want you all to envision this. She jumps in my arms, and she puts her arms around my neck. She wraps her legs around my chest, and she grabs my face and looks right at us, and she says, "When you come back the next time, I'm going to be wearing a beautiful long white dress. We're going to get married, and I'm going to take care of you for the rest of your life." And soon as she said that, I got so emotional. My daughter-in-law starts crying, and she looks at everyone and she goes, "What? That was supposed to make them feel good."
Out of the mouth of babes, right?
And everyone just started laughing. Everyone just started
Oh,
laughing.
well,
But the fact that a 6-year-old could sense my pain at that moment and hold it in until I was going to leave, and not knowing what to say, like, "I'm going to take you. You're going to be okay. I'm going to take care of you." It was endearing.
I'm gonna take that, and I'm gonna take it just a little further. That really, if you look at that, that is really how God sees us. That He comes in light, in purity, and He wraps Himself around you.
Yep.
He doesn't want to let you go, and He says, "And I'm going to marry you," because He's coming for the bride, and we are the bride. And He said,
"I'm
going to take care of you. I'm going to take care of you for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
You'll never be alone."
Great. Now you're going to stop me crying again.
But that's, as soon as you said that, I thought, oh my gosh, that is such a representation of Jesus's love.
Yep.
That it's unabashed love.
Yeah.
That's why it says that we're supposed to go to Him as children.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
Well, go ahead and say it.
I don't have to now.
No, you got more. You got more to do.
Yeah, it is. When you can touch and get in tune with the child from within, That is just, and that's another thing Bob tells Bernie. You don't enjoy your life anymore. You're never living in the moment. Bob tells Bernie in the book, and he goes, "What do you mean I don't live in the moment? Every moment is a moment." He goes, "No." He goes, "Even when you take your dog Wally to the park, and I know how much you love Wally." He goes, "You're not really enjoying the time you could be in that moment. Your brain is in something that didn't turn out in your favor in the past, or you have fear about something that's not going to work in the future, totally avoiding living in the moment." And he goes, "Bernie, my friend," he goes, "that's the only place where your life can unfold is in the moment, and you don't do it at all. Too much fear from the past, too much fear about the future." So
Come on. Come
all I
on.
have-
We have to live fear-free.
Yep.
That's it. We got to shut up that big mouth. Shut up, you, right?
Jeez, yeah, big mouth.
Shut up, you. That's what we need to start saying. We need to get a little bunkerism. Just saying.
Yeah. So maybe if you have me on again next time, we'll talk about little ways that we can turn those things
I
around.
would love to do that. Maybe we could do this like once a month and have a little.
I would love to.
Wouldn't that be fun?
Let's talk about that. Yeah,
let's talk about that.
and I love everyone that's listening. Thank you all for your comments. You people are just, it's cool. I'm going to be glowing for the rest of the day. So.
Oh, well, good. Well, and just again, if you guys are interested in finding Steve, you can go over to Facebook. But like I said, I'm going to talk to him today. We're going to get him on some multiple platforms so you can find him. We'll make sure that he's able to also broadcast to his YouTube channel. Make sure that you go over to his YouTube channel, which is Steve Rizzo. Just type it in. Make sure you hit the subscribe button because that changes the algorithms and that brings more people to get to know who he is.
Please subscribe. Yeah, I forgot all about that.
Subscription is key. All right, I'm going to take us out with some joy. Are you ready for some joy?
All right, if I have to.
Okay, we're gonna have some fun. We're gonna play a song. It's by For King and Country. Dear Jesus, please protect this broadcast. It doesn't get pulled down, but you can always find it on Cloud Hub. You can also find it over on Foxhole. You can find it on D Live. So, and I'm definitely gonna archive this because I think that this is definitely a fun broadcast. So, thank you so much, Steve. Hold on tight, and let's kick it off with some joy. What do you think?
Go for it.
Lately I've been reeling, watching the nightly news. Don't seem to find the rhythm, just wanna sing the blues. Feels like a song that never stops. Feels like it's never gonna. Gotta get that fire back in my bones before my heart turns into stone. So when somebody please pass the megaphone, I'll shout it on the count of three. Gotta get that fire back in my bones before my heart turns into stone. So when somebody please pass the megaphone, I'll shout it on the count of three. 1, 2, 3. Oh, in my pretty night, I'm singing to the sky. Give me strength to raise my voice, let me testify. Oh, in my pretty night, 'cause this is do or die. Time has come to make a choice, and I choose joy, joy, joy down in my heart to stay. Joy, 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 joy down in my heart to stay.
Boom.
That was good.
Wasn't that fun?
That was great. That was
I was
fun. That was fun. It was so natural. The whole show flowed perfectly. Yeah.
That's what we do. All right. We're gonna say goodnight or goodbye.
Yep.
Say goodbye. Goodbye, Gracie.
Say goodbye, Gracie.
Say goodbye, Gracie.
See you later. I love you.
I love you too. Hold off. I'm going to say goodbye to you off the air. Guys, see you guys tomorrow. Don't forget, hold on to your joy. Hold on to your joy, because that's where your power is. Mwah! Love you guys. I was dancing to Paige. Love you guys. Bye.